So I did the muscular system, and normally when people first hear the muscular system or first start to cover it, they talk about the 3 different types of muscle tissue, which are cardiac, skeletal, and smooth muscle tissue. Your cardiac muscle tissue is involuntary, and it contracts to circulate blood in your body. Involuntary meaning that you do it without thinking. So when your heart is pumping and contracting, you're not thinking about it. Your body is doing that on its own. Skeletal muscles are attached to the bones, and they control voluntary movements. So like I move my arm up and down, that's voluntary. I'm thinking about it and I'm doing it. And then your smooth muscle cells contract involuntary to propel substances along internal passageways. 2 other key words that you're going to hear talking about the muscular system are insertion and origin. The origin is where the muscle is attached to immovable bones, and then the insertion is where the muscle is attached to movable bones. So for example, in like a forelimb of a dog, the origin of the forelimb pectoral would be the cranial sternum, or the insertion of the forelimb pectoral would be the cranial descending muscle. So this is a diagram of a human, obviously. So the muscular system varies between humans and then different species of animals. So what I wanted to point out here was that the muscles on a human are abundant in the pelvic region because we are bipeds who stand on 2 feet, and the weight of gravity is pushing us down there. So we need the stronger muscles and the more muscles there to help us stand and help us move properly. You can also see that we do have strong pectorals and abdominal muscles, but the majority of them are down here in our pelvic region. We also have a lot of muscles in our jaw and mouth area, and that is because we are omnivores, so we eat plants and animals, and we need the strong jaw muscles of the mentalis or the
masseter?
Yes, masseter, to help chew our foods. The same goes for in like a dog, how dogs vary from humans. So the dogs, they are going to be very muscular, and the pectoral region of the dog, which is more like their front limbs to hold them up, and they are also going to have very strong jaw muscles because they do eat a lot of meat-based foods. Another difference in animal species would be birds. Birds have around 187 muscles in their entire body, so that's significantly less than a lot of other species or even just a human, but you're going to see the majority of their muscles and their pectorals and their wing region because they're going to be flying, and that's where their muscles are going to be. Where you compare that with a frog, their muscles are going to be in their legs because that's what they use to jump and to protect themselves. And then one more example would be a snake, which they have integumentary muscle cells, so those contract, and that's how the snake moves along. Over time, the muscles in different organisms have changed, and animals have evolved. For example, back to the snake, snakes were like the first lizards, kind of, like they just don't have feet. In a python, there actually are remnants of feet, so they're using those integumentary muscles to move, but they have evolved over time. So different species use just a lot of different muscles to move and get around, yeah.
That was great. I learned some things about the muscular system that I didn't even know. So awesome job, and I love how you talked about the different species and how they've evolved. That was super interesting. Let's see, what question did I give you? Oh, let's see. It was a medicine question. We give a lot of drugs in a muscle belly to dogs and cats because they tend to have pretty good blood flow in their muscles. And I think they gave the example of a drug like morphine. We could give in a dog's muscle, and you could really give it into any muscle as long as you don't hit another important structure nearby or something. But what would be some of the large muscles in a dog's back leg that we could give some medications to that you could think of?
So in a dog's back, you could give medications in the lumbodorsal, and that could be done on either side of the lumbar spine. And then it can also be given in muscles in the hind legs or in their forelimbs or their front arms.
Yeah, very good. So, like you said, we can do a lot of injections. One of our first choices would be one of their hind limbs, just because, of course, it's away from their face and their teeth, and that may be a little bit safer. And then there's also some pretty large muscles, like you talked about, comparing different species. Dogs can have a lot of musculature in their hind limbs. That's where they get a lot of their power from if they're running. And so there tends to be nice locations there